Howdy AdWords fans, and welcome back. In this lecture, we're going to start talking about ad extensions. Ad extensions come in a whole bunch of different varieties, as you can see here, but essentially they all do the same thing. They all enhance your text ads with more information that's relevant to your potential website visitors and your potential customers. They make your ads bigger, they provide your ads with more context, and they allow your customers to develop a greater awareness of what you offer and what your business is before clicking the ad. If you're not using ad extensions, you're at a severe disadvantage in the ad auction, almost more than any other setting that we've covered. It makes a really big difference whether or not you're using ad extensions for a couple of different reasons. But before we configure these ad extensions for ourselves, let's take a look at a few slides that I put together that will help us understand each one of these ad extensions in greater detail. So there are three primary benefits to using ad extensions. One is that you have more real estate on the SERP. The SERP stands for the search engine results page once again. So your ads simply is a very pragmatic reason. Your ads are bigger. They take up more screen space. We're going to see a bunch of examples and you'll see the tremendous difference an ad with good ad extensions looks like compared to an ad on the same page without ad extensions. The bigger your ad is, very simple math, the more likely you're going to capture the attention of the users. And advertisers are competing. You're competing with a lot of other options on the SERP. You have organic results. You have the back button. You have the search box. You have your competitors' ads. You might have shopping ads and product listing ads on the right-hand side. You have the menu that users could toggle to news and shopping and images and more. So there's a lot of things on this page competing for attention. And the bigger you can make your ads, the more prominent your ad could be displayed, the better chance you have at getting that click. From a more subtle perspective, ad extensions offer the user more options. You could have site links with descriptions. You could have a phone number attached to your ad. You could have your location attached to your ad. You could add more product information. These are huge factors that will help a user decide whether or not they want to click through to your website or click on the ad of a competitor. The more options you give a user, the more likely you are to answer their question. Once again, it's always important to remember the basic fundamental psychology of search. People are coming to Google because they have a question that needs to be answered, or they have a need that needs to be filled. So if you just give them the headline and one click that could bring them to, say, to a homepage or one inner page, that's not as efficient as giving them multiple different options to go to the information that they want to receive. And it's really going to be impossible, and we'll talk about this through keyword research. It's going to be very hard to really be able to figure out exactly what every searcher wants just based on what they typed into Google. We could do our best, but ad extensions really help us cater to the individuality and uniqueness of every searcher. Also very important, the third main benefit of using ad extensions is that it increases our quality score. If you're not familiar with quality score, don't worry, we have at least an hour of this course is just dedicated to understanding quality score. If you know what quality score is, fantastic. But just in a nutshell, the higher your quality scores are for every individual keyword, the cheaper your costs per click are going to be. Google hasn't released the exact formula, but we know that ad extensions are a factor in the calculation for quality score. Ad extensions absolutely do factor into quality score. Aside from the ad extensions factor of quality score, we know that click-through rate is a very important factor in quality score. Your click-through rate accounts for about 65% of your overall quality score. And based on the first two reasons is that we're offering the user more options and we have more real estate, literally bigger ads, that will help you also increase your click-through rate. So from a quality score perspective, and having good quality scores is absolutely imperative when you're trying to run profitable ad campaigns. Good use of ad extensions will absolutely increase your quality score directly, and it will also indirectly increase your quality score by way of increasing your click-through rate. So here's an image of an ad by Raymore and Flanagan Furniture, and they are making really good use of quality score. But the first thing I want you to notice is the tremendous difference in size. You're actually looking at two full-size ads here. You have Raymore and Flanagan, which is all of this, and then you have this little freightclub.com furniture ad over here. Notice the difference in size, right? So let's say factor number one, more SERP real estate that we've been talking about, right? This is a much bigger ad. Offering the users more options. We have 4 Sitelink extensions. We have mattresses, living rooms on sale, shop dining rooms, shop living rooms. So you're giving users the option to go to individual pages that might be the answers to their question. That might be what they're looking for. We have a review extension over here. We have a location extension right over here, which is being covered by the purple line, but it's right there. We have a phone call extension right in there with their phone number. So this is kind of a really, really good example of an ad that takes advantage of multiple ad extensions to really, really increase real estate on the SERP. It offers the users more option. And if you think that this ad is not going to get a higher click-through rate because of its size, think again. This ad will greatly outperform the other ads on the page, and it's going to get a better click-through rate and therefore a better quality score. So just this screenshot on the right should give you a sense of the tremendous power that good ad extensions and good use of these ad extensions for your business can have. Now let's talk about all these different ad extensions in greater detail. So we have Sitelink extensions. The reason why I chose to talk about Sitelink extensions first, because if there's going to be one ad extension that you use, it should be Sitelink extensions. They're by far the most powerful. It gives you the most additional real estate. They're clickable links. Every Sitelink is a clickable link with headlines and descriptions. We'll talk about that in a second. You have the ability to send the user to additional inner pages that might better answer their question. It's very Sitelink extension is almost like embedding a navigation into your actual ad. That's really what it's like. It also is the best chance of increasing your click-through rate. And just as a couple quick policy pointers, there's no link text repetition, meaning every headline of a Sitelink extension has to be different. You have to send them to different pages. If you add 4 site links, then you need to have 4 different URLs that each one of those site links are going to, and no third-party URLs in Sitelink extensions either, meaning whatever domain you're sending your actual ad to via the headline, that's the same root domain that needs to be used in all the Sitelink extensions. Here we have an image. Once again, we have our Raymore and Flanagan, and we have those 4 Sitelink extensions right here. Shop mattresses, living rooms on sale, shop living rooms, and shop dining rooms. Now, these are just headlines. We're not seeing any descriptions under each one of these headers for the Sitelink extensions. When you create your Sitelink extensions, you're going to have the opportunity to create descriptions under each Sitelink extension header. But interestingly enough, Google's really starting to phase out descriptions under Sitelinks. It's uncommon now that you'll see them, partly because Google is really trying to make ads at least look and resemble the organic results. And having these descriptions under the header, it kind of gives ads a unique sort of feel and aesthetic to the organic results. And that's something Google's trying to stay away from. Also, in conjunction with all the different types of ad extensions that Google has released over the last year or so, adding descriptions would just make these ads really take over above the fold content, and Google wants to give a few different advertisers space above the organic results. So you still have the option of creating descriptions for Sitelink extensions. I think that that's an option that will be eventually sunsetted in the coming year. I definitely recommend that you do that because there will be times that your descriptions will show it, and which is fantastic. But the main thing is your headlines for the Sitelink extensions. Now let's move on to a pro tip on Sitelink extensions. And the tip that I would recommend when you're thinking about configuring your Sitelink extensions is that use your analytics software to determine great Sitelink ideas. And this is really interesting. If you're using Google Analytics, or which you should be for sure because it's free and it's absolutely fantastic, or you're using any third-party analytics software like Kissmetrics or Adobe Analytics, whatever it may be, look at your behavioral flow. Are users going to your contact page a lot? Are users going to your FAQ page a lot? Are users downloading a piece of free content? So if you have a lot of pages on your website, use your analytics software to determine which site links you should be adding into your ad. And this is something that we've done for a lot of our clients, and we've seen fantastic results. For example, we might find that a certain client has an FAQ section that many of their visitors visit on their second or third page of their session. So adding an FAQ site link is a really good idea because even if it doesn't necessarily relate to the search term or the product that we're advertising in, if that business or website ultimately gets a lot of traffic to their FAQ section, that's an indication that there's some questions that need answering before making a purchase. So use analytics to figure out some great Sitelink ideas. Sitelink extensions will show on both desktop and mobile devices and tablets, of course. And here's just a couple actual screenshots of Sitelinks on a Geico ad over here. These are Sitelink extensions over here. And on mobile also with the search LSAT tutors near me, you have 4 Sitelink extensions right over here. One important difference is that on desktop, you could get between 2 and 6 Sitelink extensions, which is pretty interesting. You could get up to 6 Sitelink extensions, whereas on mobile, the most you can get is 4. So that's just something to keep in mind. Let's talk about location extensions. Locations extensions are really cool. As you can see on the right-hand side for the search AdWords agency. And oh, look, the very first result is adventureppc.com. And that's our company, of course. And you see location extension. Our address is right over here in that red box. And down below, we have New Jupiter Media, a competitor of ours over in New Jersey. And they have their Sitelink extension, their location extension, rather, also below their ad. So these are location extensions. Now remember, we're not putting in our location in the actual description or headline of the ad. These are separate location extensions that are added after the fact at the campaign level or the ad group level. So it's pretty interesting stuff. So great for local businesses if brick and mortar visits is important to you. So if you're trying to drive awareness to your retail locations or to your retail stores, having location extensions is a fantastic idea. But you need to have a Google My Business account set up in order to use location extensions. You don't manually enter a location because Google wants to make sure that every location that's appended to an ad is a verified location. Location extensions therefore only work through already verified addresses in your Google My Business account. And if you don't have a Google My Business account, it's really easy to set that up. Included in location extensions is not necessarily just an address. You could be pulling Google Plus reviews. You could be pulling a phone number, opening hours, directions. If you're on a mobile device, somebody can click and get directions. So it's a pretty dynamic extension. Even though it's called location extension, it comes with a lot of additional information in most instances. But as you can see from this example on the right, New Jupiter Media doesn't have a phone number showing and it's ours, but we do. And that's not something that we control. That's something which is really up to Google, depending on a lot of different factors, whether or not they show those things. It's also important to remember that location extensions can be automated, which means that if you have a Google My Business account under the same email address that's associated with your AdWords account, Google might automatically show your location without you actually telling them to. This is a change that started around 6 months ago that Google saw the tremendous positive effects of ad extensions and ads, and they started this whole program called automated ad extensions, that even if you're not setting up ad extensions yourself, they're going to do it for you by default. So you might run a search for your ad, or you might see one of your ads and you might see your address and you'll be like, wait, hold on 1 second. I never told Google to show my address. Well, that's because they're automating it for you. But you can manually disable them if you want. And a pro tip for using location extensions is use address filters at the campaign level based on your targeting settings. For example, you might have multiple brick and mortar locations. You might have multiple retail stores in your Google My Business account. So if you have one campaign that's targeting New York and you have a store in New York, you could use an address filter for that campaign to only show your New York address. And if you have a location in Utah or another city or another state, and you have a campaign targeting just that location, you could use an address filter to show the location extension of the address for that location. So that's a really cool pro tip for location extensions. So we've covered Sitelink extensions, we've covered location extensions. We're going to take a break here, end this lecture right now, and in the very next lecture, we'll continue right along with these slides as we jump into call extensions and the rest of the different extension types. So cheers for now, and I will see you very soon in the next lecture.